अभी आपके सामने तो देखना This one? आगे ठीक है then we'll just use it. Okay.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Namaskar. And a very warm welcome to the second International Conference on Green Hydrogen India 2024. Are you guys comfortable? Happy? Energized? All right. So this is my immense pleasure to welcome all the delegates, all the dignitaries, and we are going to start the panel discussion. And we are discussing on design consideration for developing successful hydrogen hubs. For this, I would request the panelists to please join us on the stage. And may I now request Dr. Patrick Hartley, Leader, Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organization, Hydrogen Industry Mission, Australia. Can we please have you on the stage, sir? Thank you. Well, secondly, I would request Dr. Anita Gupta, Scientific G Advisor and Head, Climate, Energy and Sustainable Technology, Division BSc. Can we please have you, ma'am? Thank you. May I now request Mr. Rolf, Senior Hydrogen Expert, Germany. Can we please have you on the stage, sir? Thank you. I would request Mr. Sachin Chugh, Hydrogen Lead India, Arup, to please have you on the stage. Thank you, sir. Well, now I request Professor Dr. Aravind PV, Director, Hydrogen Economy and Chair, Professor, Energy Conversion, University of Groningen and University of Delft, Netherlands. Can we please have you, sir? Thank you. And lastly, I will request Mr. Sidharth Jain, Managing Director, MEC and MEC Intelligence. Can we please have you on the stage? So these are the panelists for the discussion, ladies and gentlemen. May I now request the moderator, Mr. Narendra Nath Veluri, Chief Executive Officer, Agency for New and Renewable Energy Research and Technology. Can we please have you? Thank you. Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Veluri, sir, will be taking care of all the discussion. So make sure you guys have all the ears. Thank you.
Audience are not happy. It is overflowing. We have limited capacity here.
respected dignitaries on the dais and off the dais. So very good afternoon to you all. So the last man. So I know post-lunch session will be a difficult session to concentrate. But with all these stalwarts sitting here from all around the world, so I hope they'll be bringing their wisdom, and with that wisdom, you will all be alert. So to gain a lot from them, especially the topic being design considerations for developing hydrogen hubs and to make them successful. So we all will be listening to the word hubs, financial hub, business hub, and also hub. As we know, is the center of activity. And in this case, it is the center of activity in the sense of production of hydrogen, storage of hydrogen, and transportation of hydrogen. So you'll all be listening to other terms also when you listen to about hydrogen, especially in the news, hydrogen clusters, valleys, and all. So I hope my panelists will bring you more in detail, more in detail about what these terminologies actually mean and what actually we are focused about. So developing a hub. So from morning you would have been listening. So there are so many things happening in the green hydrogen space. So especially about the innovations happening and the technologies developing at a pilot scale. So we are taking this to the next level. So what if the TRL 5, 6 and all go to TRL 9, 10, and then we are in a production phase and start using this word hub. So this hub development involves a robust ecosystem, which involves partners from government, industries, and all coming together, sitting together to finally bring out such ecosystem. So, and as the name of the topic suggests, it should be successful. So that is why we are having amongst our panelists, so people representing government, people representing the industries, the academia. So all these people, so to say how the hydrogen hubs have to be designed. So when we are still in the nascent stage of designing these hubs. So as I said, so all has to work hand in hand. Government has to bring in green electrons, so develop infrastructure, maybe create price support mechanism. The industry has to take that, bring in capital investment, and take these hubs forward. So how are they doing it in different countries? So we have people representing who have worked extensively in Germany and around the world. So Mr. Sachin representing, who has worked a lot in IOCL and now representing UK, and Mr. Patrick, so representing Australia. And then there are two reports that are going to be unveiled in this session. One on the Kochi Green Hydrogen Hub and the Telangana Hydrogen Hub. So with this, ladies and gentlemen, I'll just briefly introduce you the panelist. So Dr. Patrick Hartley, he is the leader of Hydrogen Industry Mission at CSIRO, Australia's National Science Agency. And we are happy to have him along amongst us today. Dr. Anita Gupta, ma'am has 20 years experience in managing Government of India-led programs in innovation and entrepreneurship. And she is currently heading the head of climate change, energy and sustainable technology in DST, Government of India. Mr. Rolf, he is a senior hydrogen advisor from Germany, so who has lots of experience by working at World Bank and IFC. And in fact, he was instrumental in bringing the report that we are unveiling today when he was at GIZ. Mr. Sachin is energy and hydrogen business leader for Arup in India and is responsible for India, Middle East and African market. And as I said, he has plenty of experience in dealing with hydrogen. Dr. Aravind is a professor and director of hydrogen economy at the University of Groningen. So he also holds the chair professorship in energy conversion, and he is the go-to man for hydrogen valleys. And in fact, the hydrogen valley at Groningen was ranked the best hydrogen valley in Europe last year. And Mr. Sidharth Jain, who heads MEC consulting. So he has developed the green hydrogen roadmap that we are going to unveil today for Kochi, and he has been he's working with MNRE and various governments on various hydrogen related initiatives. So with this so brief introduction, so I'll first request for the opening remarks. So the panelists can use the mic provided there, and so you no need to wake up unless or until you have something to present. So first I'll request Dr. Patrick Hartley for his opening remarks. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks. Thanks very much, Narendra. Thanks everyone for attending. It's my very great pleasure to be here in India for my second time and talking about my favorite subject, hydrogen. I, as Narendra said, lead the hydrogen industry mission at CSIRO, which is our national research agency. And the mission was established in 2021 and launched in 2021 with the goal of supporting Australia's hydrogen industry development in a number of ways. And they go beyond R&D, I'm glad to say. So we support a range of research projects, but we're also doing a lot of work on knowledge sharing. So we have an extensive set of databases which people should take a look at if they're interested. We're working with government a lot on informing their strategy development and also working a lot on international partnerships. So we've been running a global delegations program in the last couple of years, visiting many countries, including, I'm glad to say, India last year. And hopefully building research connections between the different countries that we visit and Australia. I guess maybe a few words just about what's going on in Australia at the moment. We've had a hydrogen strategy, a national hydrogen strategy since 2019. And that was led by a very famous scientist in Australia, who many of you know, Dr. Alan Finkel. And he really worked with government to establish the case for hydrogen in Australia, which they gratefully accepted. We're about to have a new hydrogen strategy, or a refreshed hydrogen strategy. I got an email this morning that indicates it may well be coming out on Friday. So I'll be away to hear it launch potentially, but looking forward to seeing that out. And we've done quite a bit of modelling on things like end use of hydrogen in different industries as part of that. So exciting times in hydrogen in Australia. We have around about 100 industry projects now. And we have a range of challenges, which maybe I'll talk to in the panel session as well, but I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Dr. Patrick. Now we'll go to Dr. Anita Gupta, ma'am, for her opening remarks.
So good afternoon, everyone. I represent Department of Science and Technology, and in particular, driving the entire gamut of climate change, clean energy, and sustainable technology. So with a good mix of our technologies and research towards climate change adaptation as well as mitigation. So our landscape currently is pretty large across India, be it like solar energy, energy storage, hydrogen fuel cell, then it's the smart grids, it is sustainable cooling. And in terms of climate change, we have created a lot, in fact, the entire infrastructure and capacity building in the climate change research is because of our two missions which we are driving from DST side, which are part of the 10 national missions driven by MFCC. So one is on the sustainable Himalayan cooling, and then also on the strategic knowledge on climate change. So given that portfolio since last 7 years, when we joined Mission Innovation, we have really carved out new programs to propel India's march towards combating decarbonization and low carbon pathways to various technological interventions. We are the prime research body in the entire India, DST as a whole. But in terms of, we have been pioneers in really rolling out various research led programs, be it carbon capture utilization. And quickly walk you through, our moderator has given us strict instructions to restrict slides to bare minimum given the time shortage we have. So I'll quickly, needless to say, the kind of extreme events across the world we are facing. And then everyone has really seen now this climate change is a real problem and most pressing problem as on the planet Earth for all 8 billion people. So how do we really, the gravity of the current situation in terms of the man-made emissions across the world stands to be 51 billions. That's the target which all 200 odd countries have to really tackle with all sort of interventions. So the carbon emissions are 51 billions. And because of this, each responsible country has come out with their own plans of really combating this and bringing it to real where net zero. So these are the various sectors. I'll skip. So there's the one aspect which I would like to highlight: the development of any country versus the emissions are directly correlated. So as we march towards economical growth, we are in a critical paradox. We have to really think of, there's a trilemma of economic growth, environmental sustainability, and energy security. So these trilemma is we all have to really focus on as we progressively move towards the and charting new growth story for India. This I'm skipping, everyone knows about it. So very historical how the world has moved towards the various energy sources, from classical case of wood to coal to oil to the mix we are targeting. It has been really, it doesn't come overnight. It takes years and decades to really transition from one fuel source to another. And today we are talking of hydrogen as the next future fuel. So it is going to, it's really ecosystem is yet to be evolved. So this is also currently we are the third largest emitter of carbon dioxide, which annual is 2.7 billion. Although being the most populous country on this planet, our per capita emissions are less than global average. So you have to, everyone talks about net zero. What does it really mean? Is whatever we are emitting has to be offset through various interventions so that the greenhouse emissions are taken off from the atmosphere. So that's balancing between what we are emitting and what we are taking out. So I think everyone has heard about the Sustainable Development Goals, UN, for really equity and equitable growth. And there's a clear, you can say, SDGs targeted for clean energy, if you could see, and even for consumption, responsible consumption. So all these will attribute to sustainability as well as low carbon pathways. So COPs, where all countries discuss about what actions, they take stock of the actions taken nationally, because there's nothing mandatory as of now. It's all obligatory and voluntary activities. So these, and DAS actually gives a firm commitment how government should really carve out their own policies and programs to really tackle this global problem. I'm skipping the CCUS. So actually the answer is really, together we have to solve problem. It's not only this problem of climate change is not the only problem of government. It is a collective. Although we have a shared vision of attaining net zero and making a cleaner and greener planet as we talk about, but it does not restrict to only government. Government can be initial enabler, facilitator, but collectively we have to, everyone, as we have come on board from Germany to Australia to Netherlands to India, so is the case. We have to really engage with all stakeholders, be it industry, startups, state governments, until as they all come on board and realize, and each individual has a responsibility to play, really contribute for making our world a low carbon world. So as Dr. Kalya Selvi talked about, so carbon-free hydrogen, we have to envision a world where it's a carbon-free hydrogen and carbon-free oxygen. So that's a goal we need to really target. And this is not going to be possible until unless we have a strong pillar of innovation, R&D, and then next steps like how do we really, any new innovation has to cross and navigate the valley of death. How the government, what's the government role is there, when industry should join hands with government, I think going by the various examples during COVID times, what we have seen, how do we really compress the time to market? How do we really compress from the lab to market? That is the overarching intention we really need to work on. And collectively, we really want to chart out a roadmap where we can see by 2030, which is the immediate goal post for us. You must have seen the kind of targets national NDCs are there. Our PM has coined 5-pointer agenda, Panchamrit. So how we could really collectively attain this? So I just need one or two slides more. So this is a mission innovation where the country in the COP21 came together, and in fact, mission innovation has been coined by our honorable PM, and where it was found out that there are 25 odd countries which are high emitters of CO2. So it should be their moral responsibility to catalyze R&D and innovation and come out with technologies which could really propel our journey towards clean energy transition. And both French president and our president coined International Solar Alliance, as well as this mission innovation in the year 2015 when the COP was held in Paris. Because of this, our Department of Science and Technology aligned most of the activities towards mission innovation targets, and many new programs were rolled out. And because of this, currently we are having 7 missions under clean mission innovation, which is into phase 2, and one of these clean hydrogen mission. And because of this Hydrogen Valley, India committed to really come out with a Hydrogen Valley. What is Hydrogen Valley? In fact, Hydrogen Valley is you can say a sort of a hub where you can really demonstrate the entire value chain of hydrogen. It is from the production to storage, transportation to end use. So if you really can, in an identified site, if you can showcase all these activities, what will happen? It will really, since this technology is a relatively new hydrogen, switching to green hydrogen, we need to generate a lot of confidence from industry side. If we are able to demonstrate that it works well and it has a really economies of scale in subsequent years, then it can garner more, you can say, interest and confidence from the industry perspective, from the business perspective. So that's how we are actually aligned with the National Green Hydrogen Mission in terms of targets. We are equally contributing and working with MNRE, at least in the R&D side. For this conference also, we are a knowledge partner. Apart from this session, there will be on 13th specific R&D driven, focused, you can say, panel discussion. I invite all of you to be a part of the that session as well. And so this is the new version, like digital twins. We are also contemplating, because if Hydrogen Valley is initiated today, it will take minimum 18 months to commission it in terms of production. So by the time, during that time, if we have some baseline data, we can really see and visualize the way Hydrogen Valley will be working and really iron out some of the challenges we could foresee in its implementation. So LC is also really required from the emissions perspective. And I'm just skipping all this. So these are some of the problems which needs to be really focused on in terms of design consideration and designing a successful valley. I think that's it. I'll skip all this. Thank you.
So thank you, ma'am. So now I invite Mr. Rolf for his opening remarks.
So good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you, Narendra, for the invitation. Thank you to panel. Very happy to be here. Back in India again. Always very happy to be here. For the first time, this is great fun. I am not representing any organization, so I'm now an independent consultant. And for those of you who are in the same position, it's brilliant because you don't have a boss anymore and there's no political line of the organization to trend. So I can just think and speak what I think, which is fantastic. this conference is, or this breakout session is on hydrogen hubs. And I would like to get back to what Narendra said at the beginning, is we often use the words hubs, clusters and valleys interchangeably, but without really understanding. But there is yet an important difference. And I will put this into the context of what I've already heard again at this session, at the conference so far, is that the big problem is offtake. Everybody's saying, there's no offtake, nobody wants to buy. And that's really an important thing, what makes a hub, a cluster, and a valley different. A cluster, for me, is usually just an association, a geographical concentration of industries of the same sector in one spot. A hub is usually where you at least have a geographical focus. Usually a hub is more associated with logistics and distribution. The valley is quite different. The valley aims to, I wouldn't say, I agree with you, with Dr. Gupta, not just the entire chain, but the word for me is that your offtake. You have to not, who's the buyer in the end, to be very market commercially, who's going to buy the hydrogen at the end? And if you want to start off with a successful hydrogen project, you actually need to identify the buyer at the very beginning and have discussions also with the potential user and buyer, really on prices and quantities, that you can design the entire chain correctly. Otherwise, you have the challenge that you over-design your production. You don't have nobody's willing to buy. And then, of course, you don't have final investment decision because you're stuck there. The best is, and this is what makes it quite complicated, to get that entire chain together at the beginning correctly, and which is, well, you'll be seeing the two studies we did later on. We presented, or will be launching. This is the second part about a valley, is we try to do it in stages. There's many international examples on that one, where you go through more like a pilot R&D stage, then you scale up by a factor of 10, and then you go on scaling up. And that gives you the security that when you're on the right track, your chain works, and that you also have a place who's going to buy it. I'll talk more about the, let's say, design considerations afterwards, but that's so much as an intro to set the stage. I'm very happy that Dr. Gupta already had the slide, but just skipped it due to the lack. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rolf. So now I'll move to Mr. Sachin. So for his opening remarks.
Good afternoon to all of you, and thanks to the organizers for giving me an opportunity. Like in the introduction, it was conveyed that I changed hands a few months back, coming from the fossil industry, was with Indian Oil, and now working with Arup, probably the only consultant in the world with the only sustainability agenda on the platform of services to be offered. And one more change which has happened during the last few months is that how I have come to know that we are talking of what is to be done in terms of CO2 mitigation, in terms of environmental protection. But how it has to be implemented, that is $1 million question. And that's where our company lends its services and expertise by bringing on ground the learnings from variety of projects being handled in the space of hydrogen, green hydrogen, its derivatives, on variety of applications. And that's how we try to help our clients and various governments across the world to take the hydrogen agenda forward. Coming back to the topic of hydrogen hubs, although it has been discussed that how these hubs are going to ensure the reliable and they can foster the hydrogen economy, but we have to go a little bit back in terms of how hydrogen came to the central stage. And when we start understanding the story, it was all about decentralization of energy and democratization of energy, which hydrogen was very good at. And now we are talking of the centralization of that particular energy being in the hubs or the concepts of valleys. And that's how the complete story and this complete narration changes. And this is because being the secondary energy energy carrier, I would say, it is going to take forward the inefficiencies and the inaccuracies which are there in the processes, from which these hydrogen production is going to happen. And when we talk of hubs, it becomes very important to ask few fundamental questions from our side before we start planning, in such a mega scale. The first one which comes to my mind is that what is the optimal scale of development? What is the sequencing of development which is required to make the hydrogen hub commercially viable? Are we planning to take it from the pilot to the demo to the large scale effect, or we are going to pole vault straight away to the commercial angle? Because the whole story of hydrogen per se is actually revolving around the scale up. And when we start scaling up, all those kind of challenges pertaining to the technical, our lack of understanding about the technology, how the technology has to be scaled, those are going to creep up. So we are again back to square one, that what should be our approach. And the second thing is, whether when we talk of the concepts of clustering or the hydrogen hubs, whether it is the domestic plus the export market which has to be concentrated simultaneously, or both can be looked in isolation with each other. So these are some of the, this is one of the important questions which when we are planning these things, we should be taking care of. And the third one which comes to my mind is very important. What is going to happen to the existing infrastructure? Would we be in a position to retrofit some of the things, for when we are talking of the centralization of hydrogen development or the production facilities, or we are going to have a separate locations and separate machinery and separate plants, tackling all this? I'm particularly referring to the state of LNG terminals, whether or the LPG terminals getting repurposed, or we are going to have the parallel arrangements. So probably, I'll just stop here and look forward to the panel discussions, maybe, some more points from my side to, for this house to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sachin. So now we'll move on to Dr. Aravind. So for his opening remarks.
Yeah, but I think the slides are.
Yes.
So, dear all, very good afternoon, and many thanks for the opportunity to be here. And I'm very happy to be here as well. So today we'll talk about the North Netherlands Hydrogen Valley. And I myself am a professor at the University of Groningen in the North Netherlands, also director of hydrogen economy there. And so this presentation, well, I think it's going to be 4 minutes, so I will not show a lot of slides, but it's about hydrogen valleys and probably some delays. Normally, all these hydrogen initiatives face FID delays, final investment decision delays, and the need for knowledge platform, because I'm an academic. So my talk will be from an academic's perspective. And I will also very briefly introduce Hydrogen Valley Campus Europe. And why Groningen? It's the first hydrogen valley in Europe. And in 2022, it was selected as the Hydrogen Valley of the Year of Europe for 2022, probably meaning the best hydrogen valley in Europe. So the first best hydrogen valley. And why? Because Groningen is the largest natural gas field in Europe, where natural gas production is now completely stopped. And that's because of local problems, earthquakes, etc., because of natural gas extraction. And there is a huge energy industry with 20,000 people working. Now, if hydrogen could potentially replace natural gas, we have the energy facility there for storage. If you repurpose the gas pipelines for taking hydrogen from Groningen to all over Europe, it might be possible. And North Sea wind hydrogen production potential is 100 gigawatt plus. And this energy might be strategically important for Europe, and Groningen and North Netherlands could be the first landing point for this energy. So that's why strategically hydrogen transition is important in the region. Well, that's also why the university, etc., also supporting. So we have storage facilities which could be repurposed, natural gas pipelines which could be repurposed. There are salt caverns for very large scale storage, etc. And well, we have in Hydrogen Valley, we have buses, trucks, cars, chemical industry to consume hydrogen, different types of production, storage, well, meeting all the definitions of a Hydrogen Valley. Some of the activities, hydrogen used by industry, fueling stations, storage and salt caverns, heavy duty trucks, etc., etc. So as you see everywhere in the world. But some of the important lessons learned, this might be important for hydrogen activities across the globe, because it's one of the first hydrogen valleys. It's large initiative. Too many changes are needed. It's all based on new technologies. So being flexible is very important. And some of the goals become less relevant as time progresses. So be prepared. Co-financing, if any, should be arranged well in advance and very clear agreements from the partners, because it's all about putting a flying bird. So make sure that everything is arranged, agreed well. And well, state subsidies are coming up, also in India and wherever. And there are state aid rules. If you talk about production, manufacturing, and business, the state aid rules have to be kept in mind while state subsidies are all being planned. Some of the best practices, a combination of different partners help the projects. Big partners and small partners working together. Big partners provide stability and resources. Small partners provide agility and inspiration. And so working together is important. Shared vision is important. And clear project structures, etc., are important, because it's really a fast-moving area. New technologies are coming up. Some of these technologies will survive. Some of the technologies will find it difficult to survive. And you need to be very careful. And well, being one of the first and biggest valleys, that helped us in actually interacting with several hydrogen valleys and hubs across the globe. 5 or 6, at least large-scale university partnerships we are building across different continents, but also small-scale partnerships with many other places. So we actually see similar patterns and trends in many places in the world. Now, well, investment, government support, rules and regulations, production and market, investor confidence. Offtake is very important. And a knowledge platform. FI delays, final investment decision delays. I think one problem is also uncertainties about the technologies, and it's probably important to have a well-built knowledge platform connected to any Hydrogen Valley initiative. In Netherlands, for example, there is a large program called Groene Vermogen NL, several €100 million support for knowledge platform to demonstrations to human capital development. That's definitely helping us with the North Netherlands Hydrogen Valley. And if you look at the US, for example, one institute, EERC Energy and Environment Research Center, North Dakota University, they have $925 million. One institute, hydrogen funding from Department of Energy. So that's a kind of funding you need if you're really thinking of a large-scale transition. The world needs energy, new energy carriers, probably carbon-free carriers. And there's a massive change. And then we should think of such large-scale investments and initiatives. And in Groningen, we are trying to get something called Hydrogen Valley Europe, maybe $300 million budget totally planned to support such a transition. Really to make sure that the science platform support minimizing the risk taken by the companies finalizing FIDs in selecting technologies, accelerate the stress testing for technology selection, better control and operation strategies to develop techno-economic studies, all connected together. Even acceptance studies, psychology, regional planning, different faculties all working together, rules and regulations and law department. That's also very important. Without rules and regulations in place, technology introduction is impossible. And that's also, so we are actually developing a campus where we actually have all these faculties, science and engineering faculty, law faculty, psychology faculty, economics, all working together. So we have a test center, 250 kilowatts into 2 megawatt scale test center. That's what's called. Electrolyzers could be tested, very large electrolyzers connected to our PhD research, fuel cell laboratory, hydrogen fuel cell lab, a knowledge hub connecting all streams of knowledge and transferring also to other stakeholders, and a training program, large scale training program, fully with working together with multiple partners. We have developed several training programs for Europe, for a full hydrogen master program to be taught in different European universities, technician training program, etc., etc. So we run several programs. A valorization center, that's very important. Startups are mentored and supported. Then, okay, these are some of the examples. I'm actually skipping all the slides. This is a program which I actually managed, in which we trained around 700-800 technicians using an innovative training strategy of traveling laboratories, serious games, and online education to train hydrogen fuel cell technicians in 7 languages, 700-800 trainees across the globe. We also built large-scale international partnerships, and that's all from my side.
Thank you.
And all connected in a triple helix form: industry, academia, and government entities working together. Triple helix platforms might be very important in also other hydrogen regions. Thank you.
Thank you. So before we go to the next round of questions, so I'll invite the last panelist for his opening remarks.
Thank you. So we did the Hydrogen Valley roadmap for Kochi. And I agree with most of the panelists that it is very hard to do Hydrogen Valley. It's costly. It is requiring a lot of coordination. But, if exam is tough, it is tough for everyone, not just for us in India and not just tough for, people all over the world. We have to do our best to qualify in the exam. And Kochi is one such center in India which can qualify that exam with flying colors on developing a valley. Now, why do we say that? Kochi has a refinery. It's a BPCL refinery. BPCL has 2 more refineries in India. One is in Mumbai, one is in Bina in Madhya Pradesh. Kochi has a fertilizer plant. They do DAP and NPK. Now, DAP and NPK are not that subsidized in fertilizers in India, and they do buy all their LNG from outside. They have maritime transport, which is water ferries. They are running water ferries on batteries right now. They want to do long distance water ferries. They want to connect all the other ports in India via these ports around that. They fall on the east coast of India, and they're going to be connected to the European, to the Australia route. Adani is building a port in Vizinjam. So there is quite a bit of traction on commerce that is coming out there. Then on top of that, aviation sector is, sort of becoming green in Kochi. They're already net zero. They want to get net zero. Then there are technologies companies who are willing to do that. So the point we are trying to make here is that Kochi has quite a lot of interlocked use cases, and there is a need to sort of test the use case of green hydrogen or hydrogen in that infrastructure. Now, for example, if I am already having a gas pipeline, if I'm already having a fertilizer, if I'm already having a refinery unit, what is the way I can start testing some of these new units into this, and what are the ways in which it could be done? Now, the exam is tough. There is no doubt about it, but India has some really good cost structures. There are a lot of good engineers out there. There are a lot of companies who want to do there. And BPCL has been an energy hub for Kerala, for Kochi for quite a bit of time. And if somebody has to become the clean energy hub of Kochi, somebody has to take that position, whether it will be a new IPP who would take up the green hydrogen and become an energy hub. The port infrastructure at Kochi is available. The Vizinjam port infrastructure is available to sort of take that. They have a lot of water which is available, and really good quality water that is available. The amount of water that they consume is 1/10 of what they have. So there is no water problem. There is, also hydrogen available with BPCL, which is at $1.2 to $1.5 per MMBTU and per kg. And that $1.2 to $1.5 per kg hydrogen can be used into different applications to test out the infrastructure, to do the pilots. And eventually, as the cost of green hydrogen goes down, that can be shifted towards green hydrogen. So having all this, not only the use cases, the infrastructure which has been there, plus also this hydrogen, which is gray hydrogen, which is at $1.2, $1.5 per kg, allows us to test a lot of novel cases. So what we have done is we have identified some 6-7 pilots that should be done. So I'll just talk to you about what are the more tangible opportunities that will probably come up in Kerala. So there is the first one is a refinery pilot where we want to set up a 5.1 KTPA green hydrogen pilot in Kochi refinery for testing the infrastructure requirements. Because everyone talks about, I want to use hydrogen, but nobody talks about the purification that is required, the compression that is required, the storage that is required, the transportation that is required. So how do you test that out? And the government of Kerala has agreed to sort of fund the infrastructure around that, to build the infrastructure to make sure that Kochi can supply that green hydrogen when it comes to that. Then the second pilot is to set up 9 buses, a mix of HICE and FCEV technology in Kerala, then to build up a refueling station at the Cochin port, and to sort of test a decentralized refueling station with one. So there will be one in Kochi and one at Vizinjam, and then the buses will go in between. And the reason why we want to set up 9 buses, A, is we test the technology, and second is that, you know, EV charging station can only charge 1 or 2. There are only 2 guns. But if you look at the refueling time of a hydrogen tank, it's very less. So being able to sort of support 9 buses in one go is what a refueling infrastructure does. So we want to put in 2. So one would be at the port at Vizinjam, and one will be the port in Kochi. So that would be built. Then the third one is in the water metro part, where we want to run 1 cargo barge for pre-feasibility. And we want to test run the coastal canal project. We are also saying that we would want to set up a lot of storage infrastructure at the port, because Cochin Shipyard is there. Now, Cochin Shipyard has done the ferry for Varanasi. There have been talks to, you know, build these ferries for companies outside of India. There are also talks to get repeat orders from government of India, and they require a lot of this infrastructure to be doing there. So we had the choice to locate the valley centered around the BPCL refinery, which is the largest off-taker, or to locate it at the port. But we thought that at the port, we will get maximum bang for our buck. A lot of that use case that will come there, and we will be able to attract global investments. You know, everybody in the world wants to understand how to decarbonize shipping, how to decarbonize road transportation, how to test new technologies. And Kerala has the infrastructure and so on and so forth. And the strategy that has been developed is that the government will focus on 3 things. One is all the infrastructure which people do not think about. This is the transportation, the storage, the purification, the compression, the pipelines. Then the transmission infrastructure for renewables, because Kerala, you know, is a coastal state with a lot of land which cannot be used for setting up renewable plants. So the renewables will come from outside of Kerala. So once they start to come out of Kerala, where do you bring that in Kerala? So they would focus on putting the transmission infrastructure around that. Then the third thing that would be focused on is making sure that all these innovations that are being designed in India and outside of India, Kerala becomes a hub for that and becoming a test lab for that. So standards, certifications, and Section 8 companies being formed. And we had a discussion with MNRE also. MNRE has been extremely responsive to the Kerala's roadmap. They have asked us to, you know, SIP, and Mr. Veluri can talk about it, you know, to put it into different pilots and to get funding for each pilot separately. So I think a lot of that traction you will start seeing very quickly on the road transport and on the hub infrastructure and so on. But Mr. Veluri can add.
Thank you, Sidharth. So now everybody sitting in the room might have understood why we are the knowledge partner for this session. So Sidharth has given the lead. So since lots of work has been put in Kerala regarding the development of hydrogen hub. So anyhow, before opening up the session for question and answers, as a moderator, I get the first chance to ask my panelists a few questions. So though I know them well, still I have few things to extract from them. First, I'll go to Dr. Patrick. So when I joined ANERT 3 years back, so Australia's hydrogen strategy was the first document that I referred to. And now you have mentioned in your opening remarks that you are already going for a next new hydrogen strategy. So just wanted to understand, so as a premier research organization, so what is the role of CSIRO in the earlier strategy and in the current strategy?
Yeah, thanks, Narendra. It's probably our role changed between the 2 strategies quite a lot, and I guess I'll take some credit for that, because when we established our hydrogen industry mission, it was after the first strategy. So in the first strategy, we really did quite a bit of work on the research and innovation opportunity, what research and innovation would be required. So we delivered a report. All of these reports are available online, looking at the priorities and opportunities for research and development in Australia, which informed then some of the research thinking in that strategy. This time around, it's quite different. This time around, we've done a lot of the techno-economic modelling, end-use modelling. We've looked at the innovation system and how best it can be perhaps appended to support the next strategy. So it's been much more hands-on, involved, and creating, giving input into the policymakers for the strategy development. So we're looking forward to seeing our work appearing hopefully very, very soon.
Thank you. So for the sake of breaking monotony, I'm not following the same order. So my next question is to Mr. Sachin. So since you spoke about the commercial viability as a challenge, so we just know that the oil companies have spent a fortune on converting from BS4 to BS6. And now it's not even a couple of years. And now we are speaking about converting to hydrogen economy. So if technologies are changing so rapidly, so how is that the commercial viability of scaling up to a hydrogen production hub? So will be a challenge, and what considerations have the industry take while formulating this hub?
Probably I will not be talking on behalf of the oil and gas industry, but definitely some of the experiences, from my side. You rightly said, a lot of investment when we transited from BS4 to BS6. And ultimately, what we are doing as of now is the natural gas, which was considered as one of the cleanest fuels about 4 years back, is actually getting replaced with green hydrogen. And if you see the India's energy pie, the idea was that, we wanted to move the natural gas share from 6% in the primary energy to about 15%. And that 6% included a lot of volume which the refineries were consuming or are consuming. And when we talk of integrating or replacing that natural gas with green hydrogen, we are actually going to eat some pie from that 6% rather than increasing it to that 15%. So yes, there is a lot to look and synergize there. But having said that, a lot of synergistic alignments can happen. Like we talk of blending of hydrogen into natural gas pipelines, we have to see that how much percentage of blending can be done with, we would be comfortable with. But having said that, CBG, how it can be roped into the compressed biogas in the complete, city gas network, how we can scale up certain commercial processes around the electrolyzer technologies. We talk of hydrogen hubs, but we have to see that how the feed management should be optimized. We are talking of biomass as a green energy source. We are talking of water requirements for electrolyzers. Lot of myth around 9 to 10 kgs or liters of water required for 1 kg of hydrogen. Means when you start scaling it up, that's where the real problem lies, because ultimately it's about the gigawatt scales would require a lot of cooling requirements, and we cannot offload those water evaporation losses of the water, and we have to include those requirements. So strategically speaking, the geographical selection, of the sites should have all these factors included into this. We talk of renewable energies, intermittencies. We at Arup have done a lot of studies where we feel that there is a lot of optimization scope in the complete value chain, and we can actually save about, our calculation says, about 15 to 17% of the hydrogen cost can be saved. We are looking at certain subsidies, we are looking at certain government incentives in order to bring down the cost from the current levels of $5 to $6 per kg to whatever our ambitions are. But we are missing very important factor into that. All these kind of things or all these government incentives ultimately are going to, be a strain on the exchequer. But, we fail to analyze that how much the optimization can play the role in complete value chain. We talk of scaling it up, and that's why in my opening remarks, whether it's the small pilot from where we want to learn few things and catapult, the larger scale. This logic may or may not hold for larger projects because the moment you start scaling it up, the complete story changes. Like, for example, I'll just try to, I was just seeing few numbers from some of the reports, and, it was so alarming that the scale actually, although it comes from experience, but I was surprised that Haber-Bosch process, the economy of scale, that advantage ceased to exist beyond certain level. Are we talking of hybridization of the PEM and the alkaline technologies going forward? Would we be seeing both of them coexisting under the same umbrella and the same hub? Those are the questions which we need to answer. So, these are some of the things, factors which are missing, and that's why it becomes very important for us to analyze certain things and then take the right decisions. So I'll just park myself, for the opinion of the other panelists. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for an elaborate explanation. Since you touched upon the government subsidies, so I'll go to Dr. Aravind, so who has a great experience in managing the hydrogen valleys. So what are the areas where the state has to target its subsidies? So since we are talking about government subsidies in bringing down the cost, so what do you think will be the areas that they need to focus? So whether it is at production, or is it at the energy that needs to be taken care, so, or the costs?
Okay, thank you. Difficult question. But maybe a couple of answers. Maybe there may be many disagreeing with me here around. And if so, I'm sorry. But if you really look at hydrogen intake by industry in the future, chemical industry will probably start buying hydrogen in large quantities when there is, say, price parity with petroleum fuels, right? So that's not going to be easy. We have been driving around a hydrogen fuel cell car, for example, for last 10, 15 years at the University of Delft. And if you pay around $10 per kilogram from your pocket, because the calorific value is 3 times, and the efficiency is double. So out of pocket expense is comparable to diesel, even with such a high price. So, well, not completely, but we actually have been doing this. So 3 times calorific value. So $1 plus is for one kilogram of fossil fuel. So 3 times is €3 already with calorific value. Then the efficiency advantage of 2.5 times, and that actually takes it to €7 plus. So there are certain areas. I'm not saying that this is the only area or this is the area. There are certain areas in which there will be advantages. Identify those advantages, and this will change from place to place. And there also will be certain production methods and certain places. Identify those technologies and then help those technologies to get into its mainstream market. And it could be chemical industries, whatever. But so that's one thing. And then, of course, manpower development, human capital development is extremely important, without which nothing will happen. So the state could anyway invest in education, training, etc. And also help actors to learn from each other. So this is a fast-moving field. And it's important that success stories and failures are shared. So help others and set rules and regulations fast enough. That's also something state should take care of. These are some of the areas. I can expand the list, but I think.
Thank you. Understood. It's a difficult question to put a full stop to. So, ma'am, I'll come to Dr. Anita Gupta, ma'am. So, since you have mentioned about the investment that needs to be done on the human resource. So, ma'am, so coming to the mission innovation, so I will like to listen from you on so how mission innovation is helping in driving the innovation and entrepreneurship, especially with relation to the hydrogen technologies in India.
Yeah, so as I told you, mission innovation, we have entered into the phase 2 of this mission innovation. In the phase 1, the directives were, we had innovation communities program, innovation challenges program, through which we rolled out our hydrogen and fuel cell program, and really could create a critical mass of researchers given the what kind of market challenges are there. And we tailored our call for proposals depending upon those. see, be it like from the new membranes development, catalyst development. So those were the initial phases of our, how did we really, and came into the R&D roadmap of green hydrogen. But when in the phase 2, when there are definitive targets of really how do we set up hydrogen valleys, and with India's march towards green hydrogen targeting to be an export hub by 2030, we have a different set of outlook and perspective. Although as a part of mission innovation world over, there will be 100 hydrogen valleys across the globe. But India, we have to really take a very calculated step in this direction. We have come out with, okay, there will be 4 hydrogen valleys. I completely echo what Sachin and other panel members have really talked about, because it has to be really whatever technologies are there. When we are showcasing, we cannot initiate anything on a complex manner. It has to begin, we have to take some baby steps. So what we are targeting is the production targets to be 500 tons per year for, to say in each hydrogen valley, it comes out to be 2 tons per day of production capacity. And if you are demonstrating the entire value chain, I completely agree. We cannot, as per the latest data says, in India, the cost of production of 1 kg of green hydrogen stands to be somewhere around 350 to 400 a kg. And when we are talking of end use application, we have to do compression. We have to do think of storage cost. We have to dispensation cost. So it all comes out to be 1200 kgs. So we are talking about from well to gate, well to wheel. So if we are really talking about all these costs, and the overarching target is to bring down the production cost to $1 a kg and make it comparable to gray hydrogen, then only there will be a wider adoption of green hydrogen. So if that being the case, there is a greater role of innovation to take inroads into the entire hydrogen economy. And that's why DST is paying a lot of attention. So that's why I see the nomenclature itself speaks of, we are not calling it simple hydrogen valley. We are talking, we have named it as a hydrogen valley innovation cluster. Innovation has to be a continuous process of this whole valley. And it is not an R&D. It is a living lab. It's a demo, small scale demo hydrogen valley. And as a part of our own designing principle, first thing we are focusing as a from the government body, how do we create an enabling ecosystem around that? So that will be the first and foremost thing. What are the appropriate policies to be built up around? Because any new technology will take its own sweet time to be adopted. And if we can iron out initial challenges based on the SWOT analysis, based on the in the reports which have come out from Big Fours or anything of these kinds. So we have to really take into account. Niti Aayog is also coming out with various sort of, as a biggest think tank of Government of India. So we are actually based on evidence-based is our approach from Government of India side. Each hydrogen valley, we are actually contemplating in all 4 zones, east, west, north, south. And I completely agree, because in order to reduce the costs, we cannot spend too much on transportation. So on-site production, on-site utilization will given the highest weightage. That's how I think in your Cochin also the same, it will be produced there, and we'll have a lot of applications which you talked about. It is span from, so in terms of it is in the Maharashtra side, we are actually planning to have application in the fine chemical sector, city gas distribution, even in Jodhpur, which has actually been using solar energy to the optimal use to really crack or split hydrogen. Then it will be used for even for the mobility aspect. Yours maybe in the shipping and multiple application. In eastern part, Bhubaneswar, we are targeting DRI technology for green steel. I completely agree with Rolf that in the DPRs which we'll be inviting, there will be clear-cut purchase agreement, because if there is a no demand, there's no point of investing in these kind of valleys. So that will be a very critical aspect of really identifying which valley has the better preparedness to and can have a good indicators of long-term successes. And ultimately, what we are trying is these valleys where the support from government will be to the tune of up to 50 CR for each valley. It is built around a viability gap funding. I think in the Kerala, as you could make out, there's strong support from the state government. And if that kind of support comes from the state government, obviously you can say the probability of success is multifold. All these aspects are being considered: on-site production, on-site utilization, and the team which has to drive, has to have ownership. So as per our design principles, each hydrogen valley has been conceived to be a separate legal entity. So there's a flexibility in operation. So that's a very critical aspect. There has to be ownership. It has to be run independently from the institute or from the entity where it is being hosted, with flexibility in operation to bring the kind of speed and the scale and the agility which we are perceiving. And it has to be not a single or two partners. It has to have multitude of partners. And each hydrogen valley, we could see there are partners ranging from 15 to 20. And it's a very unique combination which will be a part of this hydrogen valley. So it actually includes all stakeholders which are on board. So whether it's from the user's perspective, from the production side, from the startup side, because startups, we see they are the, you can see the biggest disruptors and the innovation they are bringing to the table. Currently, I had really mapped as to how many startups are there worldwide in this entire green hydrogen economy. And the number is, although small, but they are playing a big role. 500 startups across globe. India currently are 50 in this domain. And we really need to tap all those startups. They need to be part of this entire hydrogen, green hydrogen value chain in each valley. And we see that each hydrogen valley has to run in an entrepreneurial way. We'll be supporting it only for up to say 5 years. They have to, beyond 5 years, they have to have their own sources of revenue generation. Although we are not supporting all aspects of the entire cost, it's a viability gap funding. So the demand creation really will be a big puller. And given the years to come, we foresee that there will be a lot of more ecosystem will mature enough. All hydrogen will be scaled up to bigger level, and they will be aligned then with the National Green Hydrogen Mission as a hub. So these are our initial thoughts based on the DPRs which we have really studied.
Thank you, ma'am. So there is little bias towards ma'am because she has announced we are one of the 4 selected hubs. So anyhow, I'll go to recommended. So still, so anyhow, we'll go to Rolf. So since you have now an independent consultant and you have lots of experience all around the world. So what are the key geopolitical factors that influence the market dynamics, especially in relation to developing the hub that the government needs to keep in mind?
Are you sure? I'm going to answer that question.
Since you said you are independent, I asked you the question.
So I'll try to make it just brief and quick. So personal sort of things that we've seen in India globally, like there are 3 key factors: is to have a key investor, to have a nice share public partnership, public-private partnership, where the public sector really caters to the infrastructure. And as Sidharth said, it's actually much more than you would think. It's the piping, it's electricity transmission lines, it's the storage, it's the compression units. It's actually much, much more. It's not just like an Apple plug-in and it works electrolyzer. It's the water discharge, Brian. There's a lot of issues which companies don't want to deal with. So that's required. Anchor investor. When I said valley and offtake, this has the advantage. It doesn't have to be in the same location, so you can split it. And there's a wonderful example where Acne has to deal with Yara in Norway. So I'm going to go from principles now to international examples. Yara, Acme, nor is it Greenco. Greenco set up its plant in Oman to sell to Yara, who's now internationally a trader, but also a producer of fertilizer. So they secured both. They had the offtake, but it's not everything in one location. A third, usually, and I agree also with Madam, hydrogen is just extremely difficult to transport. Therefore, you will see many successful cases are where you've actually taken the hydrogen, further processed it into a more easily transportable good with higher value. And for me, the two key cases is High Steel in Sweden, and they're using renewable energy because that's what Sweden have, and they're producing the steel directly on site. So they have the ore, and it's much easier to buy the steel. Steel has the advantage, and they get offtake because the premium on the green steel is still a minimal percentage in the value of a car overall, because now electronics and other things are much more expensive. The steel going into the chassis is minimal, and so therefore the premium, it's easy to get the premium. You have a similar case in Mauritania, where they're creating this massive 20 gigawatt plant, I think 150 kilometers off from Nouadhibou, which is the harbor, a railway going up. But they have exactly the same issue when it comes to steel. What often gets forgotten is that you need high quality ores of more than 63% iron content in the ore to make it liable for DRI processing using hydrogen. And they have that in Mauritania. And being in the hills, they have excellent wind, they have excellent solar, so that they have really fairly stable renewable energy base. And they can just send the trains downhill, which costs almost no energy. So this is where the German consultancy company is absolutely into it. You have other example, which India needs to look at, is PESEM in Brazil, where PESEM has created the brilliant hydrogen hub. Brazil has even better because they have solar, they have renewable, and they have hydro. So they can really balance it out through 24 hours without any cost. And they much closer they can send to Europe, and they're creating a huge location for there. That's at the design level of the hubs. Then, of course, geopolitically, you need to look at where the off-taker countries, what are the policies? You have Japan and Korea, which are presumably the first off-takers for green ammonia or blue ammonia. But then pay attention, South Korea is now in this first bidding set extremely high standards for blue ammonia, with a 90% being low carbon. So that's quite costly if you're going to blue carbon. Japan, I think, is considering, because the advantages of co-firing coal plants with ammonia are actually not economically not that big as initially perceived. And it's turning out that the transportation costs of liquid hydrogen are much higher. I'm seeing that. Let me stop there. I can go on, but you made it hard for me. So let me stop. Thank you.
Thank you. So before we go to the audience question, I think we are short on time. So last question for Sidharth. So during the design considerations, so what are the domestic factors that need to be taken into consideration vis-a-vis the international factors while designing a hub?
So I think the main point is that India is very, you can say, low cost. It's looked upon all over the world as something that can scale and can do it at low cost, although we do not have the infrastructure to do that. And how do we leverage that is then the question. And the way we design the valley has been that, okay, if there is any board presentation anywhere in the world, and they think about, okay, what are the top ports globally where hydrogen can be set up? So Kochi's name should come there. And they should be able to say that, okay, look, this is the infrastructure we are able to provide. So tomorrow, let's imagine, IOCL, BPCL, they are sitting in the board meeting and saying, okay, what do we do for an export hub? Okay, Kochi name comes, and then, okay, they have this. And that is where our aim has been. And I think that what we considered quite a bit on that.
Just to add to your point, under mission innovation, we have a green shipping as well.
Yes.
So Cochin port is definitely a part
And on
of
the shipyard, there is doing great job. And so all that local strength has been put into place. And this entire valley has been built upon what Kochi has to offer. It is not an export-oriented hub. It is primarily, conversion of the existing infrastructure into hydrogen. We will start with gray, then we will move to green, and we will have a clear pathway to build infrastructure.
Right. Thank you all. I think we are running short of time. So the panelists will be available for you to personally interact. So we'll go to the next program. Thank you.
No. Before we just go ahead, before we leave, we have two reports and presentation that has to be done. So make sure you guys are looking at the screen only. This is for Kochi GS2 hub and Telangana GS2 cluster. We are just launching report 1 for Kochi GS2 hub and report 2 for Telangana GS2 cluster. I also request Mr. Himadri Singha to please come on the dais. Just a quickly overview.
So these were produced by GIZ. With thanks from GIZ who financed them. I'm sure the reports will be put out in the public domain correctly. So if anybody were launching them, but they will soon be available. These are wonderful insights into how to develop hydrogen valleys in India with Kerala. I think both of them having also strong domestic local, a very practical approach with all the details that I won't repeat what Sidharth said. So thank you both to Sidharth. Thank you also to Madhvi, then also for the Telangana report. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody. May I now request Mr. Chalapati Rao, Scientist D, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, to please come on the dais for the closure and for the mementos. Thank you. Mr. Rao, can we please have you on the dais? Please put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen. And I request Mr. Rao to please come on the dais for the mementos. May I name? I request Dr. Patrick to please come forward. Thank you so much for the time, sir. Dr. Anita Gupta to please come forward. Thank you so much for the time, ma'am. And thank you for the discussion. May I now request Mr. Rolf to please come forward. Thank you so much for coming and making this event possible. Thank you for the time and for the overall discussion. This is just a small token of appreciation and love from the team. I would say from the ministry itself. And may I now request Mr. Sachin Chugh to please come forward. Thank you so much, sir. I now request Professor Dr. Aravind PV to please come forward. Thank you so much for the time, sir. And lastly, I would request Mr. Sidharth Jain. Thank you so much. And of course, our moderator for the day, Mr. Narendra Nath Veluri, to please come forward. Thank you so much for all the discussion, all the information we have shared. Can we please have everybody in a queue to have a group picture? And we are starting the next session in a while. So make sure you guys are be seated or settled down. Well, thank you everybody and sorry we were sort of time. So QA नहीं हो पाया. I'm sure सबके मन में questions बहुत सारे होंगे. But it's sometimes hard to manage. But thank you so much everybody for being here. We are starting next session in 5 minutes. Meanwhile, please settle down. Thank you.